Hey guys, welcome back to the ramble. I am your humble host, Maria Legier. I wrap myself in blankets. There's construction work going on outside. The world has ended. I feel fine. This is Pandemonium 2020. Woke up panicking with newsflash bangs caught in my aching jawline. Jaw clenched and teeth grinding. Panicked and the world caught in lockdown. Pandemic chaos erupts as self-isolation, quarantine imposed. Red blotches on the maps grow and spread. Plague doctors in the guise of journalists wearing tingling masks go from door to door poking needles in our eyes and ears and fingertips. Reveling in chaos, death and despair. It is the angry or outraged or terrified cliques that govern the world. Our entire economy is built around the value of clickbait. Trigger fingers finger angrily at screen-scanned lines atop the naked murals of the internet meme machine. Twitter is afoot, the Twitterati aflame, with pseudo-warriors warring wondrously. Too much spare time at the best of times, even more so now in the grip and chains and claws of global pandemic. Isolation, cabin fever, boredom sets in. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Nothing but a little global crisis to show us what's what, he said, sardonically, as the walls crack and the ceilings shudder, as the foundations below crumble and the world comes to grip with having to be at home, having to be alone, having to learn how the entire world does not revolve around oneself. Or, even worse to some, having to learn how to be alone with oneself. Not an easy task to do in a world where we are all completely and constantly connected, chronically tuned in and turned on to never being alone, never having to deal with being alone. So much would be solved if people learned to enjoy their own company instead of constantly seeking social validation in the most superficial and hollow manner. Civility has decreased as social media use has increased. We beat each other up with supposed moral superiority, imbecility, and dub it civility, morality, ethics, and compassion. But that is besides the point. If any point can be had and found in this new dawn of chaos and corruption. There's not much to say about Corona-chan that has not already been said, spat, sung, fearmongered, and preposterously pondered. More often than not by people who are ready, willing, and able to score quick political points on a global crisis the likes of which we have not seen since World War II. Yet, it is at the tip of my thoughts, at the summit of my nuclear brain cavity at the moment of writing. Not writing about this insanity would in itself be insanity. Even if the writing will merely be a few rambling and scatterbrained words tossed to the wind and whimsy of the internet. It is in times of crisis that our true nature shows itself. How we overcome and how we survive and how we come out the other end when the crisis has passed is what defines us. What shows ourselves to ourselves, so to speak. So far, we shouldn't be all that impressed. People panic, and people don't give a fuck. And the truth lies somewhere in the muddied middle. Don't check the news every day. The 24-hour news cycle is a fraud and a scam. Nothing new, merely repetition. Just check it once in a while. And don't point any fingers at China. They are exempt from this. You know, the place where all this began, the epicenter of the pandemic pandemonium, our very own patient zero. For the umpteenth time, pandemic pandemonium seems to originate there quite often. But you shouldn't say that. For that, according to the Twitterati, according to the maddening mass media, is racist and very mean, and so you shouldn't tell the truth about where it originated. Because the feelings of the Chinese government could be hurt, and the Chinese might be a bit racist, or something along those lines. I cannot be the only one who find it absurd and ridiculous and imbecilic that it shall be dubbed as racist to point out where this fuckery erupted. For it is in truth and in fact absurd and ridiculous and imbecilic. Yet that is where we're at. The outrage pornographers must generate outrage, must have some manner of outrage to get them through the day. How outrageous! It never ceases to amaze me, the lengths to which some people will go in order to feel, or make themselves appear to be, morally superior to the trembling, unwashed masses. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. This is where we're at. As already mentioned, it is, according to the frantic eggshell minds of the internet, racist and mean and so forth and so on to tell the truth of the origins of the Wuhan plague and curse. It is as absurd and rage-baitingly delicious as fresh bat soup enjoyed in the bat cave whilst wearing a bat suit made from the skin of dead bats. Which is, as a matter of fact, how I usually spend my Saturdays, though admittedly with more strippers and less modern plague. Yet, it is exactly as expected, as are all the other things to be generated by the outraged pornographers, basking as they do in the fantastic glow emanating from the global economic superpower China. It is always about the money, kids. Don't forget this. Morality evaporates as consuming powers grow, or something to that effect. It is almost as though one would be inclined to believe that money and power and international trade and relations matter a whole hell of a lot more than the facts of the matter. There ain't no one yelling at China. At least not as long as we need cheap electronics and other strange gizmos. I may be excruciatingly cynical, to be honest, but it seems to me that who is protected and who is not can be measured by the weight of their metaphorical national wallets. And men die more from this plague than do women, which is why it will affect women more, according to the ones who say that everything affects women more. Even when it affects men more, please see links down below. Women are the primary victims of war, remember, for they lose their husbands, their sons and their brothers and so forth and so on. If I didn't know any better, I would say that there is a remarkable gap in empathy and compassion where the sexes are concerned. This, however, I have been told is a bold-faced lie, proving nothing but that I hate women, and so that has to be true. Of course. And if I did not know any better, I would have stated that our societies are gynocentric to an obscene amount, given that what really matters is how something affects women. The measure of our worth as societies is how much we cater to women, up to and including how the illness and death of men affects women worse than the men who get ill and die. Even the illness and death and decay of men has to be measured by how it affects women. I have been told that men do not experience less empathy in society than women do because women have to go to work even when they have their period, so there is really less empathy towards women. And furthermore, why does it have to be a competition, say the feminist hordes when I point to ways in which men struggle as a group, whilst they are busy spearheading a competition about who has it worse? And that is really women and only women, and men don't have it hard at all. And then they lecture me on nuance while spouting the extremely balanced and nuanced view that only women suffer societal hardships of any importance, particularly when a hardship affects men more. So I should really just shut up and accept the fact that women have it worse, even when it is not a competition about who has it worse, and that I need to understand that life is all about nuance. And this is something I was told, which was said within the same paragraph of text, in the same breath. Self-awareness. Thy name is not feminism. Why does it have to be a competition, followed by men don't have it harder than women, and you have to understand that life is all about nuance? And I do understand that life is all about nuance. I only wish for the problems men face to be taken seriously as well, instead of being tossed to the side as being either of no importance or being made up. It would be nuanced and balanced to actually care about the problems of men as well as those of women. But pointing that out, is dubbed misogyny. For only feminism can speak to the problems affecting both men and women. You know, that one ideology who places all the blame for everything on men as a group. Yep, that'll surely help men too. How one can breathe and walk at the same time when one believes that women are oppressed and hated in a world in which a pandemic that kills far more men than women is presented as having the hardest impact on women is beyond me. Yet apparently people are able to do so. Any crisis, no matter how, what, when, where, no matter how big or how small, is measured first and foremost by how it affects women. And if it does not affect women more, it will be turned, twisted and distorted until it can be presented as such. And people gobble it up. For the holy spectre of feminism is one that must be obeyed. The serpent cult is powerful, and its power reaches far and wide. Now dance. Dance, little monkeys. Dance for your masters. Even in times of crisis, a crisis that more or less affects the entirety of the goddamned world, except North Korea of course, they are remarkably absent from any global statistics on this crisis. What a paradise, what a utopia that glorious democracy must be. Women are most affected. And this is the reason for that one meme. You know the one. Meteor hits Earth, women most affected. Or at the very least, most hysterical. When all this ends, when this plague has passed, when the pandemonium is overcome, the pandemic over and done with, the world will have changed. I have no idea how, but I am certain that a lot of things will change. One can only hope for the better, though given the authoritarian measures taken by most governments in an effort to combat this plague, I do fear the worst. Of course, I will admit to being more paranoid than most. I struggle to trust authority. Dub this remnants of teenage rebellion and immaturity, if you so wish. I fail to see how someone who seeks to have power over other people is one who should be blindly trusted. Little by little, and bit by bit, normalcy will trickle back. We will get through this crisis, just as we have gotten through other crises before. The best we can do is to care for one another as best we can, take what precautions we are able to, and carry on as normal to the best of our abilities. Stay at home and limit your social interactions, say the governments. Jokes on them, I do that already. Stay safe out there in the world, guys. It got weirder and stranger overnight. And that is that for this ramble. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out the links down below. Like, share and subscribe and all that jazz. And I'll catch you next time. This is Maria Lucier, signing off.